We are a minute after, so we're ready to get started. Like I said, welcome to another episode of Innovative Women in Leadership, our virtual event series here with Thoughtexchange, where we talk about the different things that help women continue their leadership development. We're going to be talking today with Gay Gabrilska, but before we get started on that, I want to invite you to join the conversation outside of the virtual event. If you do that, maybe you do it on LinkedIn, maybe you do it on Instagram, whatever your social media poison of choice is, use these hashtags. Hashtag I will, Innovative Women in Leadership, right? With one L, I will with one L. Where there's an I will.
There's an I way.
Yes. And then.
Mom jokes.
That was good. That was good. Okay. And then, or you can use the other hashtag. Hashtag TEVE. We call this must see. TEVE, especially this one today.
Thoughtexchange virtual events.
Bingo. Gosh, nothing gets past gay. Okay, so use these hashtags if you're joining it. If you're having a watching party, take a picture of yourself. Selfie.
How many watching parties are out there right now?
This is a watching party.
Okay, cool.
We're watching ourselves. Okay, so join the conversation. Also use the chat box. Let us know where you're calling from. Let us know what you're hoping to learn from this event.
Bring up past uncomfortable things from my past. That would be
whatever
Gay
wants.
Whatever Gay wants.
That's what we're going to get today.
That's what we're going to get today.
Okay, so I want to introduce you to my longtime friend and former colleague, Gay Gabrilska. Gay has worked in media and technology for over 25 years, empowering hundreds of broadcasters and brands to engage more closely with their audiences while increasing consumer engagement for organizations like iHeartMedia, CBS, Ford, Miller Coors, Microsoft, Amazon, and AWS. So, very small companies that you've never, ever heard of. Currently at Avia, she works to democratize the delivery of information at conferences and internal events by leveraging AI, which you call
automated intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
It's not fake. It's based on real data. So
yeah.
It's not artificial. It's automated intelligence.
We're trying to get that trending.
Automated. I am a robot.
Yeah, she is. And natural language processing to translate the text and index individual presentations by topic, enabling adult participation across the globe on multiple cloud platforms. Please welcome Gay Gabrilska to the I will. Yeah.
Thank you.
I know, we're so excited to have you here, Gay.
I'm so excited to see you. I've been following your path like a little stalker for the last 15 years. Samesies.
We're samesies stalkers.
We are.
Yeah.
I know. Who knew?
Well,
the call's coming from within the house.
Yeah. What's your favorite movie? Okay.
It's Angela, right?
Okay. It is. Okay. So before we get started, what I like to do is our 5-star questions for our 5-star leaders. You're what we would consider one of our 5-star leaders, especially one of our model female leaders. So we're excited to have you here. Are you ready for the 5-star questions?
I have no idea, but I'm game.
Okay, here we go. Okay. Beach or mountains?
Beach.
Easy. Good thing you live in the mountains.
But it's only a 4.5-hour flight to Hawaii.
And what is the national fish of Hawaii?
The humu, nuku, ua, pua, ua. The Hawaiian triggerfish.
Great. Okay, can't wait to learn that. Road trips or air travel?
Air.
Yeah.
I ain't got time.
Yeah, you gotta can't get to Hawaii on a road trip? No way. Okay. In-person meetings or virtual meetings?
In person.
You know what is fun about what we're doing right now? It's an in-person virtual meeting. Jinxies. Okay. Salty snacks or sweet tooth?
Salty.
All right, me too. Twitter or Instagram?
The Insta.
Yeah, same. Okay, great. We know all about Gay now. Professionally, personally, everything. This is my joke. Are you ready? There's too much glasses for this one frame. Get it? Frame?
Oh.
Okay. Yeah, this is fun. Women leadership is fun. Let's talk about how gender bias affects leadership in your organization and organizations around the globe.
Great. So I think if we start with gender bias and we say, and I'm going to fully own my own bias, right?
Okay.
My implicit bias. So I'm talking about white gender bias right now. That's my experience, right?
Right.
But I do believe that if we can start somewhere and then pull everyone else along, this is a good place to start. But you
Okay.
know, I'm not up here saying like I'm not biased about things. I am, but in my experience, gender bias, that's what I've had to deal with.
Yeah, I think that that's an important thing to kind of make note of as we talk about gender bias, is that this isn't the only one that exists. This is the one we're comfortable with, or not comfortable with, but this is the one we have that experience with. We can fight the good fight on that, but everyone has experienced bias in different ways.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And we bring our own biases to the 100%. Table. Yeah.
And when you, what I found is it's important to find power allies. So a power ally, it doesn't have to be, I think I've heard a lot of people say, you know, you find when you have a white male who will stand up in your defense, then suddenly you've legitimized your cause. But I think there are other power allies that we need to think about, and who those power allies are, who can help to just keep moving the issue forward.
Yeah.
And it might just be within a company. Within a company, a recent event was running a technical and events logistics team at a rather large event, and we have proprietary hardware, proprietary software. Long story short is someone from another team had basically come in and just unplugged everything while it was running, and no big deal, we're just live streaming. We'll get this later. But as a result, I escalated it, and what happened was I had the pleasure of someone coming in from another vendor, and basically I'm in a large room with 30 of our people. We're wrapping up the event, and he finally came in and they said, well, I don't know what happened. We didn't, you know, it was all this like defensive stuff. And I was like, okay, not the forum for it, right? Can we take this down offline?
Know your audience.
And the, you know, it was just uncomfortable, but it just went on, and my natural inclination is to get frustrated too, right? I'm going to escalate with you, right?
Yeah, of course. It's contagious.
And so I caught myself doing it right at the point that he did too. And he said, oh, I'm sorry. Is this getting too emotional for you? It seems like you're getting fired up about this. And I went, okay. So I backed way back down, and then I wound him up. Good. And then when he got wound up, I said, oh, I'm sorry. You seem to be getting a little emotional. Is this a good time still? Okay. So long story short, we wrap it up. We don't come to any decision. He leaves. I request all of the people on the team. I'm like, please come in, shut the doors. It's lesson time, right?
Yeah.
And so I said, I realized that was extremely uncomfortable. I tried to shut it down as well as I could. I made mistakes.
Of course.
Right?
We're human.
Yeah. And I'm more human than most. So I'm
more human than human.
More human than human.
Yeah,
that's it. Wrapping back to the story, so I said, listen, this is a situation you'll find yourself indirectly. You'll find yourself viewing it. You'll find yourself hopefully not on the other end of it, but if you do, you always have a chance to make a change, right? And so I just expressed to them, listen, I know it was uncomfortable, and the responses that I got were anywhere from I wanted to choke him out to I wanted to come and give you a big hug.
Yeah.
And with the world we live in today, obviously only one of those a viable option. Just choke him out.
Right.
Because hugging's bad.
A little inappropriate.
But choke it out. Choke him out.
Yeah.
But in any case, like I think they all appreciated that. Just stop down and recognize the situation.
Yeah.
So
they saw it happening. And so I'm sure that was uncomfortable for you to see that happen. How did you catch yourself in that moment? Because it's hard when you're emotionally driven to really like take a second and not take the bait when you've been given it. How did you find the courage or, the rational part of yourself that made you go, okay, I'm going to just chill out for just a second?
Yeah, I made eye contact with my people.
Oh,
so I had, actually like one of our client was right there. So I made eye contact and I kind of got you're not crazy. This is insane. What's happening right now? And then my barometer, Jennifer Nelson, she's always like, hey, not always, but anyway, she's my barometer. So I looked her in the eye and I was like, okay, I got to take a breath. And then I saw other people just real quickly and I was like, wrap it up, calm down, get him out of this space so
Right.
that we can move on. But it was that people around me.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that worked in that exact moment, but I think that that's just really good advice for anyone experiencing any kind of bias, that they have a network around them that they trust, that they go, hey, am I crazy? Validate me. Tell me what you think should be happening for me. And then I feel more confident and stronger in my space to pursue or I don't want to use the word fight, but to challenge this.
Right.
Yeah.
Fight is good.
Okay.
We can fight.
That's good.
We can fight.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I think though it's good to know that you can do that in the moment instance, but also just in a larger, like, take it away and walk around and go, hey, this happened. What did you see? Can you give me some feedback on that?
That is the step that I didn't take. So that's interesting.
Well, but you did it, but just instantaneously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And through just body language, you were able to recognize, like, it's time to take a moment. So one of the things I really love about this story, Gay, is that, you were able to kind of shift it. You saw it happening. You felt this kind of like escalation. You were able to kind of temper it and then turn it around, but you didn't stop there. You used it as a learning opportunity for the rest of the team. Talk to me about what your instinct was in that moment and how that conversation really went.
I think it was just instinctual.
Yeah.
I think it was kind of like, danger, close the doors, come in, let's talk about this. That's generally how I am
as a leader.
As a leader. Yeah, I want to make sure that everyone is okay, and give feedback or make it a learning experience, like you said. I wish now that I had taken more time to say afterwards, how are you doing?
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Oh, okay.
And I think I think I've been in Canada too long because I just said, sorry about that.
That's okay. We like it.
Sorry. But that would be a good next step. But I don't know, instinct and feeling safe with the team that I have. They're going to be receptive to it.
So I know you talked a little bit about their reactions to it. They either wanted to hug you or they reacted like kind of aggressively towards that. Were there any other insights that you got from your team when you opened up this conversation with them after that experience that was really kind of like an aha or insightful, or anything that you uncovered that you weren't expecting?
I don't know. I think it was all what I expected. Probably was a little harder on myself than I needed to be about how I got wound up. But then super proud of bring this back to me, will you? I'm sorry, everyone else who was there. This is really about me. Is that I found myself like, I need to acknowledge with them right now, right here, everyone who was there and experienced that, the thing that led me to be able to calm down, then also wind him up and then kind of reverse it, was you all. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm so glad.
Put your feedback in the chats.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you have like that safety net around you.
Yep.
One of the things I want to talk about is this idea of power allies. And you brought this up, you said it in just a split second, but I really want to dig into it. This idea that if we find this white male ally to kind of champion our cause, then all of a sudden we are validated.
Yes.
Oh, I found my executive sponsorship. And so now I am okay as a woman to pursue this idea or initiative.
Let's talk about my issues.
Yeah, so talk to me. I think it's funny because until you said that, it didn't even really occur to me that, oh, yes, I do that. And I think that's my natural inclination. Talk to me about how we change that habit, how we change that we've been flexing that muscle for damn near 20 years. How do we stop doing that?
I'm hoping a lot of that comes from people who are more mature in the industry or in their professional life, can really start to open up and listen to people who are coming in. And people who are coming in, they haven't seen this. They don't know what to look for.
Right.
So they're not looking for it. So sometimes it's even hard for them to understand, like, I'm 25-year-old woman and I've never been mistreated based on my gender before in my life.
Yeah.
Unlikely.
Yeah.
You just haven't noticed it, right?
Absolutely.
So one thing that happened at another company I was with, ZipWhip, is it was around International Women's Day, and we wanted to do something for the entire month, do social. We had a marketing director who put some amazing things together. What we realized is we wanted to really create a diversity team, and nobody really, it wasn't mandated. Nobody said, okay, we're going to get diverse now.
Right.
CEO Dave said, we're going to get diverse.
6'1" CEO Dave.
But it was kind of this organic thing where it was younger men and younger women who were coming to the table and saying, like, this can't happen. These are not the kind of things that we want to see happen. What can we do when we see it happen?
Yeah.
Maybe that is what prepped me for that moment, uncomfortable moment. But I would say the barometer for me is the people who are coming newly into the workspace is us old professionals, is what should we call it? Veterans, us veterans,
seasoned
veterans,
professionals.
hashtag seasoned professional veterans, is that we need to open up and understand and have a really good relationship with people who have a completely different perspective, and they're coming in a different way, because those are the power allies, and that's what ended up happening. We had people who wanted to get involved, and I remember very specifically a young man named Isaac who said, well, what do we do if we find ourselves in that position? Like, I was like, whoa.
I love that.
Like, I don't know. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Right? So
that's great.
Just talking about it.
So what came of that conversation?
I believe they still have this program going on. And
Incredible.
I certainly see wonderful things coming out about how they're associated with many different organizations that serve what are more, not what are perceived, but more marginalized communities and groups like lesbians who attack.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. I love it.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about this infamous Forbes list. Forbes named the most innovative leaders, right? And the 100 most innovative leaders
in North America.
And in the year of 2019, they found, of those 100, 99 men and 1 solid female. Only one.
Only one.
Can we all just take a minute?
I don't know if any like systemic bias, gender bias, race bias. I don't know what could have come into play, but I mean, clearly men are just more innovative than women.
That must be the one conclusion we can make.
Yeah.
I think what kills me when things like this happen, and I see it, all over LinkedIn or wherever.
It's on Forbes magazine.
Forbes magazine.
This isn't like.
I'm like, who sat in that desk and said, approved?
Yeah.
This looks like a good list to me.
Yeah.
Which makes me know then that at the highest level, there must not be any women at Forbes.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? That's the conclusion.
Can you imagine if that came across your desk? Would you be like, this seems like a solid list to me?
Do we really, is she really worthy of this?
Yeah, maybe this one spot.
Isn't there one more guy?
Yeah, I mean, it makes it a round even number.
Now
100 men.
Now we're just doing that. The one thing that's encouraging to me is the first place that I saw it, of course, was when Thoughtexchange shared a story that a gentleman by the name of Hype Man out of Chicago, he's the first person who shared it. So this is a male person of color who was the first to bring this to light and say, this is wrong.
Isn't that awesome? What a great power ally.
That's a power ally.
Boom.
Boom.
Bringing it back.
I didn't even know Hype Man. He's my power ally.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, good for him.
Yeah.
Thanks to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. There is good in the world.
There is, and I think like one of the things is it is uncomfortable if it's uncomfortable for me as a white person to talk about race, because it makes me feel like, I don't want to say the wrong thing. That's what people say. I don't want to say the wrong thing. I know that I'm biased in some ways. So it makes me feel uncomfortable, and it makes me feel like I have to be on guard.
Mm-hmm.
If we change the way that we look at that and say for gender bias is, don't be on guard.
Yeah.
Don't be defensive.
Mm-hmm.
Just say, Into the Spider-Verse. Have you seen it?
No.
Have y'all seen Into the Spider-Verse? I've seen it 952 times.
Okay.
So Peter B. Parker,
okay,
as he is going, has his master plan to stop the evil villains. Step 1, break into the lab. Step 2, identify the head scientist, and he points to a man in a white lab coat.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then another, I don't want to spoiler alert, but another spider person says, oh, that's actually the head scientist, and points to a woman. And then Peter B. Parker says, oh, cool. Step 3, re-examine my gender biases. So that became part of the plan.
I love that.
Right? So if somebody calls you out on it, or you think you see it in yourself, your first response, please just try to do it, and I have to do it too, is like, cool.
Yeah.
Now how do I look at it a different way?
Yeah, I love that. I think that, okay, there's 2 things there that I want to really tap into is one, when we start to see, I know we just talked about this, what we kind of consider a failure for women in leadership, that we don't see more innovative leaders on this Forbes thing. That's not necessarily something that makes us feel good about the progress we're making in the world. But then I think when you hear that kind of thing happen in a Spider-Man movie, you feel like, okay, pop culture is coming around. Mm-hmm. And that's really exciting. I think the other thing too is that, yeah, in order to put yourself out there, you have to also recognize and feel comfortable enough to say when you've made a mistake, and that's okay. I think the consciousness you're bringing to it, when you acknowledge your bias and then re-examine it, and you let the people around you know that you're doing those things, I think that you're becoming a power ally for them because they see you making the effort.
Right?
Yeah,
I love that.
That's so great.
One thing I just wanted to add real quickly is this is going to be money talks, and that money makes change. So I'm going to stop pounding on the table.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Not very professional veteran like, is it?
Yeah. PV.
We have questions from the attendees.
Okay.
Wow. Hi, Kaza. That's Karen. How do you identify gender bias in the workplace? How do I identify it?
Yeah.
I think, so here's an example. Men who are married and have children are more likely to ask for a raise and receive a raise, even if they don't ask for it, than a single woman. That data comes from genderequitynow.org. Okay. So it's systemic. How do you identify it is you try to find the unfair treatment. Yeah. And that's where it starts. I think there can be subtler versions of it in the echo chamber thing, where I come up with a really great idea or thought in a meeting, and then Bob says the same thing, and everyone says, great idea, Bob. Yeah. That's awesome, Bravo. And then, so that's the gender bias. And then my solution is stop, wait a minute. That was actually Leela's idea, right? And so we actually practice that at work, where we're now at EV events. So how do I identify it? I don't know who the question came from, but it's I can't not see it.
Yeah, I think that's true. Once you start picking up on the subtleties of it, I think that you can't not see it sometimes. Yeah, but I think that's the key, guys, is it's so subtle sometimes because it is systemic. You just have to, I think, be looking for it. The follow-up question. As a man, how do you know if you're being biased about gender? So I would say this is what the answer is probably you are. Just assume that you might be doing that in certain situations. And so I think, to the point I was making earlier, if you can bring some consciousness to whatever your actions are, do you notice yourself in meetings doing exactly what Gay's just described, where you take someone's idea and then pass it off as your own and go, did I just do that? Or did I interrupt that woman in the middle of a meeting? Different things like that you can bring consciousness to, I think, is a good first step. Would you add to that, Gay?
Yeah, so I think adding to that would be not only stopping it, but maybe ask your colleagues.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a great idea.
I mean, it doesn't need to be real uncomfortable. Just like, hey, as a male, I know I don't experience things the exact same way that you do. We're not all alike. We all have differences, particularly around gender, from the beginning of time, the way that we're treated. So ask.
Yeah. Ask your female colleagues.
If you manage a team, go back and think about the last time that I had you had annual reviews and promotions, is where did the women score relative to the men? And where did the increase in pay go relative to the men? That's a good starting point.
Yeah, I think that that's such a great one. As a compensation manager, the first thing that I do is always ensure that there's equity in roles beyond gender. And I think as leaders in organizations, that's something you can do immediately to ensure that if you didn't do it last year, that you can correct it moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a great question. And
yeah.
Thank you for your courage for asking it.
Yeah, and actually this is a perfect segue, because what I want to do in this next portion of the virtual event is open up really this discussion to the audience. So this is where we
do they turn their cameras on?
Nope. No, actually they're going to join the exchange. So get out your mobile device, guys, and Amelia just shared the link to the exchange. So what you're going to do is you can either click on the link that Amelia just posted, or you can take out your mobile device like I'm going to do right now, open up your camera, and then you'll see a little thing will pop down, click into it. It'll take you right to the exchange. You don't have to sign up, just agree to the terms of use. If you don't want to use your QR code, you can go to thoughtexchange.com/join and enter the 9-digit code you see on the screen. The question that we're asking today is, what thoughts or questions do you have for Gay? I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to go in there, share a thought. Then once you're done sharing, you're going to star the thoughts. You use Amazon, you use Uber, right? One, you don't really agree with it. It's not a super high priority question or thought that you want Gay to address. So go through and share and star. And then once I've given you about 5 minutes to do that, we're going to go through the top thoughts and questions with Gay so that you can join the conversation too. In order for you to participate,
this part of it.
I have to be quiet, and so does Gay. So we're going to let you do that. See you here in just a few minutes.
So whatever you put in there, we don't know who you are. Oh, who are those people?
Yeah, so you'll see all of these purple people that you see on your screen are people, it's a representation of someone who's jumped into the exchange. All of the blue dialog boxes, of course, are representative of thoughts that are being shared, and then the orange lines are the ones that have been rated. So, and you'll see, of course, as you're participating, how the thoughts of these and priorities are changing. So if you're ready, Gay, we're going to jump right in.
I couldn't be more ready.
Okay, good. Here we go. Oh, here's a hypothetical one. I love this. Okay. Imagine you've got senior leadership who are mostly male and an incredible leader within the organization who has a different leadership style. How do you help those male leaders recognize that someone with a different, maybe less assertive leadership style can be a strong leader? I think this is great because it's talking about advocacy, right?
Yes.
So how can you do this?
Okay, so an incredible leader within the organization. So we're assuming that incredible leader could make a difference if they were on the senior leadership position. Oh, yeah. So I don't know if this is coming from a quirky leader. I think that might be it, which is good. I like those.
Yeah.
Or if someone has identified someone within their organization who would be a great power ally if they were able to be elevated and then impact the senior leadership team to make it more diverse. I think that's a question, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Just had to walk through it. It's late in the afternoon here. So I would say that you have at your disposal many ways where you can rate and identify things, give praise, shout outs, cheers to people on throughout your organization. I would say a good start would to start to promote those people yourself.
Yeah.
And do what you can, and then support that person, and even do some groundwork organically with other people around. Hey, did you realize that leader A actually brings a different perspective, or I think they look at things a little bit differently and can help the company open up and have the leadership be more representative of the entire company. Yeah. So I would say start with highlighting them vocally and in writing wherever you can.
Yeah, I think the thing I like about this is that it really requires you to consider yourself a power ally and how you use that for good to help promote those around you, which we talk a lot about on the I-Ways, is like, how do you send the elevator back down? Once you find yourself in a senior leadership role as a predominantly underrepresented population, whatever that may be, female, LGBTQ,
Yep.
Black, white, Hispanic, whatever it is that you bring, anything that you can do to send that elevator back down as your own power ally, as the power ally for those in that same group, I think is good. Okay, the second question, you two need a talk show. Haha, very entertaining. This is our talk show.
This is it.
Welcome. Surprise.
Hey.
We're working on that.
It is
jingle.
a lot. It is a lot of talky, but
yeah, thanks.
We're going to have visual aids on the next one.
And a weather board behind us.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I think edutainment is an important thing on my mind right now.
Good. That's what this
Educating
is.
people in an entertaining way.
Boom. Nailed it.
Edutaining.
Okay. Hashtag edutaining. Do you use gender neutral language to refer to people of unspecified gender? Great question.
I do, and we encourage that where I am right now at EVIA, and it is it's new to me.
Is it?
It's new, right?
Yeah.
But I appreciate it, and there again, it's just like open myself up.
Yeah.
Understand. I don't need somebody to tell me that's the right thing to do. If that person says this is what I would prefer, then yes, that's exactly what I will do.
Yeah.
Whatever your preferred pronoun is A-okay with me.
Totally. And I've started to see this shift on like LinkedIn or different platforms, even in email, where people will put their preferred pronoun, her, she in parentheses next to their name, or he, him, or they, whatever their preferences. I'm starting to see it as like almost like a suffix to their name.
Right.
And it's really interesting to see that. And I'm glad to see this kind of development happening. The other thing, I read an article the other day, and I'm from Texas, so I'm biased to this, and that's how I know Gay from working with her in Dallas.
She's a biased Dallas Cowboys fan.
I am. Woo woo, go Cowboys. But the thing is that actually the idea of saying y'all is the most gender neutral way of saying addressing a crowd, because you guys, of course, that doesn't work, but y'all. So this is my plug for saying y'all more often, because it's gender neutral.
Yeah.
All right. High five.
Y'all.
Okay.
Okay, folks.
That is an interesting concept to ask if we are being gender biased or not. Can you expand on how to approach that? I feel like it would be uncomfortable. Oh yeah, when you suggested that a male or anyone necessarily shows up and says, am I doing this? Do I have this bias? Talk a little more about that.
Certainly uncomfortable, but there again, I'll come back to the internal communication channels that are already there. If you can surface this and let people know within your organization that this is important to you to understand, because nobody wants to be a bad person. No. Right? And listen, if you're being gender biased, you're being a bad person. Yeah. You're being a bad steward for the company. But yeah, it's not it. Let me think a little bit about that and see if I can come up with something at the end. But use the regular communication channels. Find somebody that you are comfortable talking to about this, and just ask them. Yeah, I think when I think about the idea of any of my male colleagues who have worked for me or worked next to me, or even my superiors, males that have worked for, if any one of them had come to me and said, hey, Angela, I'm curious to know if I've ever done anything that seemed like it was, that I was being gender biased. Can you talk me through that? Can we have a conversation about that? I would be nothing but receptive to that. And so I think if you are worried about it being an uncomfortable conversation, it may be for you, but I think I speak for the majority of people in my situation that would say, I would welcome that with open arms, and I would be so appreciative of you opening that conversation up. Cool. That's a great answer. Thanks. Okay. I've been accused of gender. Tell me about that. I worked at a company and was, again, running a team, and we had one male who said that the only way to get promoted on my team was if you were a female. Okay. And how did you respond to that? Did he say this directly to you? No. Okay. Of course not. So how was there truth in that? I asked myself if there was truth in that. And then that's the recommendation that I said, to go back and look at your team and see how you've rated them, what you're judging them on, what specific performance metrics are in place, and then what is a result of that. So I went back and I did all of those things, and it happened that this we did have males who were promoted on the team, and it really did come down to performance. So
good.
But I was thought to be gender biased.
You know, it's really interesting, and I think that that's the thing is we, as advocates of women in leadership, right, we don't ever want to be judged the other way, that we are not promoting the, male leaders, or that we want to be gender neutral, not just advocates for women.
Right.
And I think that that's another, we're actually doing a I Will virtual event series on that, that exact topic. So tune in for that, Jennifer Morelli, in just a few weeks. Okay. Do you have any resources that you could recommend to read as a follow-up to this conversation?
Oh, there are some really cool podcasts out there, and that's what I would recommend first. And I think in 99% Invisible is one of the podcasts that I've read, and it's really interesting because it takes all of the emotion out of the conversation. And it says when essentially all of these things that are being decided by men, because by nature of whatever the business is that it's not intentional, right? And so if we take the blame out of it and say, this is the nature of what's going on. 95% of all code around machine learning and AI is being written by men, right? So it's like Invisible, 99% Invisible is a really cool place to start.
You also mentioned the other one, the GEN.
Oh yeah, Jen, it's gen.org. It's Gender Equity Now. It's a nonprofit that is based in Seattle, and it's all based on real data. It's all their work is to go into an organization and basically give them a scorecard, and not only the scorecard but the path to improve.
Nice.
So it's not one of those things where leadership says we need to be more culturally diverse and less gender biased. Check the box. This is like a commitment that you make that's relatively inexpensive.
That's great.
And it's for people who want to be better. So maybe the person who asked the question, how do I know if I'm being gender biased? Maybe recommend it to your HR team to check out gen.org, gen.org.
That's a great recommendation. Okay, I like that. Gay is such a thoughtful and supportive leader. Woohoo, go Gay. Yay.
Go Gay all the way.
Okay. Is there any value in doing any kind of assessment of gender bias in the workplace? And are there any that you can recommend? Boom,
look
cheat
at
it
me.
up. Already
I'm
answered
a psychic.
it.
I'm like Dionne Warwick. That'll be $3.99, please.
A minute.
$3.99 Canadian. Don't worry.
Yeah, so cheaper. Okay. What are your thoughts on how we present ourselves? I'm always scared of being dismissed as a man hater or thought of as too emotional. Where is the middle ground? Okay, can I just tell you, I worry about this all the time. I do. And I wonder sometimes if that's because I've been programmed that way or
it's a programming. It is 100% a programming issue, but that doesn't minimize like how it makes you feel when you try to do it. But yes, you are responding exactly the way that the system has built for you to respond. Right.
The matrix.
So let's see, man hater thought of as too emotional. I think just trying to get your point across in a really clear manner, in a very direct manner, is a good start. I don't know if there is a middle ground. I think maybe the middle ground is to, again, your power ally. Am I crazy? Did that just happen in the meeting? Right? Because then if you can get other people to understand and have somebody else, validated, again, it's got to be validated. But if that's what it takes, then that's a step in the right direction. I've just decided that I am a man hater and that I am too emotional. It's not true. I have 5 brothers and I have wonderful men in my life of all color who play an important role in my personal and professional life. But that's a tough one. You're not a man hater.
No, and I think one thing I'll say, and I'll end on this, since this is our last question, I think the further I've gotten in my career, the more powerful women allies that I've had around me, and male allies, you know, all power allies that I've had around me, the more grounded I feel and more secure I feel in my own leadership, the less I worry about this.
Right.
And so I just also want you to know that, like, whoever asked this question, that as you progress and you feel more comfortable in your own space and in your own leadership style, whatever that style may be, I think that you will find that you worry less and less about this.
Make it routine.
Yeah.
Make it a habit.
Yeah.
So you're comfortable with it.
Gay, I am so grateful for you coming on. I think it's been one of my
most
favorite ones. It was so good to see you. I'm so glad you guys joined us. As a reminder, we're going to send out the report to this. Let me stop sharing so you can see our faces bigger. You're going to see a report from the exchange. We'll also follow up with a replay of this so you can share this far and wide. If you aren't already subscribed to our newsletter so you can figure out how to get involved and see the next I Will virtual event series, do that. We do these every Wednesday, usually at 10 a.m. Pacific. So we want to see you there because we always appreciate our women leaders and, of course, our power allies.
Awesome.
So thanks.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Heart, heart. I love you. I love you.